Everyone's opinions feel correct. All that's left is for the chief to decide. MPH Shasryu shifted his gaze. Zayusu felt their eyes meet across a few other lizardmen. The elder brother nodded without moving his head. With the feeling like he'd gotten a gentle push from behind, although it may have been off a cliff, Zayusu raised his hand to speak. Chief, I'd like to give my opinion. Everyone's eyes fell on Zayusu. Most of the lizardmen were expectant, but some were frowning. You're a traveler. There's nothing for you to say. You should be happy you're even allowed to be here, said a member of the Council of Elders. Step to a tail whacked the floor with a bang. The sound cut off the elder's comment like a sharp knife. Quiet. It was Shasryu, with unpredictable emotion in his voice. He spoke half in the growls lizardmen made when agitated. No one could interrupt him if he was like that. The tension in the hut grew at once. The heat of the excitement suddenly cooled. In that strained atmosphere, one of the elders opened his mouth to speak, without noticing the unspoken urge from many others to let sleeping dogs lie. But Chief, you can't give him special treatment just because he's your little brother. Travelers, I told you to be quiet. Didn't you hear me? GNGH right now, we're allowing everyone with knowledge to take part. It would be strange not to listen to the opinion of a traveler. Travelers, I am the chief, and I say it's fine. Are you really still objecting? The elder silently averted his eyes. Shasryu looked at the others. Head priest, head warrior, head hunter, do you agree that he's worth listening to? The head warrior responded first. I think Zayusu's opinion is worth hearing. There is no warrior who would ignore the opinion of the one who possesses frost pain. I agree. There's plenty of reason to listen, came the head hunter's jocular reply. Finally, the head priest shrugged. Of course I'll listen. Only a fool ignores someone with knowledge. A few of the elders scowled at the scathing sarcasm. Shasryu nodded at the three after they gave their opinions and gestured with his chin to Zayusu that he could proceed. Zayusu remained seated and began to speak. If it's between running and fighting, I'd choose the latter. And why is that? It's the only choice we have. If the chief was asking a question, a proper answer was required. But Zayusu, with an attitude that said that it, didn't he seem like he was going to elaborate. Shasryu rested his jaw on a fist and sank deep into thought. What, did you figure out what I am thinking? Brother Zayusu was troubled, although he didn't let his inner thoughts show. Then the head priest asked no one in particular, but can we win? Yes, we can. The head warrior shouted energetically to dispel their anxiety, but the head priest just squinted. No, the way we are now we can't have much of a chance. It was Zayusu who verbally disagreed. What do you mean by that? Head warrior, our opponent must have gathered intelligence on us. They know what kind of fight we can put up. If they didn't, they wouldn't be able to talk with such an air of superiority. That means even if we fight well, victory must be impossible with our current strength. Then what should we do? It was the question on everyone's tongues. Zayusu, still keeping his true intentions hidden, answered before they asked. So we need to mess up their plan. Do you all remember the war? Of course, someone replied. It had been only a few years ago. No one was so far gone that they would forget it quickly. Even if they'd gone senile, it would be impossible to forget that war. Once there had been 7 tribes in the Great Wetlands: Green Claw, Small Fang, Razor Tail, Dragon Tusk, Yellow Spectre, Sharp Edge, and Red Eye. But now there were only 5. They had participated in a war where so many lizardmen died that 2 tribes were wiped out. It started with a string of poor catches of their staple fish. Greenclaw's hunting parties began to extend their reach over a wider area of the lake. Of course, the same could be said of the other tribes. Eventually, the hunting parties began to clash over fishing spots. Their respective tribes' food was on the line, so they couldn't back down. It didn't take long for arguments to turn into fights, and for the fights to turn deadly. Eventually, warriors began to move in as backup for the hunting parties. A fierce food war broke out. 5 of the 7 tribes joined the conflict. It evolved into a 3-on-2 struggle. Green Claw, Small Fang, and Razor Tail joined forces to face Yellow Spectre and Sharp Edge. Entire tribes participated, not only the warrior caste, but also regular adult males and females. After several all-out battles, the 3 allied tribes, including Green Claw, won. The other side had lost so many members, they couldn't maintain their 2 tribes. They scattered, although they were later absorbed by Dragon Tusk, who hadn't participated in the war. Ironically, the decrease in lizardmen living on the marsh had solved the food issue. There was enough of the staple fish to go around once again. What about it? Remember what it said, we Ray II, so that must mean it's going around to other villages besides ours. Oh, some voices went up in understanding. So you think we should form another alliance, huh? You gotta be kidding. No, I think we should. Like during the war, if we do that, I think we have a chance at winning. Neighbors whispered to one another, and before long, the voices had transformed into a surging conversation. As everyone in the hut considered Zayusu's idea, only Shasryu remained silent. He didn't move to speak. Zayusu couldn't meet his deeply penetrating gaze. After a moment, Zayusu spoke again. Don't misunderstand me. I mean with all the tribes. What? The headhunter gasped. He was the second one in the room to grasp Zayusu's meaning. Zayusu looked straight at Shasryu. The lizardmen standing between them involuntarily parted. I propose we ally with Dragon Tusk and Red Eye as well, Chief. This caused a huge commotion. Zayusu might as well have thrown a bomb into the room. Dragon Tusk and Red Eye were the two tribes who hadn't participated in the war. Green Claw had no contact with them. Dragon Tusk had taken in the surviving members of Yellow Spectre and Sharp Edge, so there had to be some deep-rooted resentment remaining in that tribe. Making an alliance with them would mean a 5-tribe coalition. If they could do it, they certainly might have a chance. As everyone imagined this faint hope, Shasryu spoke suddenly. Who will be the messenger? I'll do it. Shasryu didn't show any surprise at Zayusu's immediate reply. He knew his little brother well, so he probably expected it. The surrounding lizardmen made admiring noises. They felt there wasn't a better choice. Only one person disapproved. A traveler. It was Shasryu, shooting an icy look through Zayusu. That's right, Chief. This is an emergency. If they won't listen to me because I am a traveler, they are not worth allying with. Zayusu had no trouble shrugging off the icicle glare. They stared at each other for a few moments. Then Shasryu cracked a bitter smile. Had he given up? Or did he know nothing he said could stop his little brother? Maybe he was inwardly smirking at himself for accepting that Zayusu was the right choice. It was a pained smile. Bring me the Chief's mark. The mark meant the bearer was the representative of the chief. It wasn't something that could be given to a traveler. The Council of Elders was about to say something, but before they could, Shasryu hit them with a fierce glare. The words died in their throats. Thank you, Zayusu said as he bowed his head. Then Shasryu spoke. I'll be the one to choose the messenger to the other tribes. First in the evening, a cool breeze blew. The area was a marsh. The rather high humidity combined with the heat to make the air stifling. But in the evening, the wind cooled off enough to be a little chilly. Of course, the change was nothing to the lizardmen with their thick skins. Zayusu splashed through the marsh toward Rororo's hut. He still had time, but it was possible some unforeseen incident could occur. There was also the chance their enemy wouldn't keep their promise, or they would disrupt his travels. Considering all those things, it made the most sense to ride Rororo across the marsh. His waterlogged footsteps slowed and then stopped. His heavy leather pack jerked on his back. He stopped because a familiar lizardman had come out of Rororo's house. Their eyes met. After cocking his head at puzzled Zayusu, the black-scaled lizardman moved closer. I always thought you should have been chief, Shasryu began after coming to a stop about 2 yards away. What are you talking about, brother? Remember the war? Of course I do. Zayusu had brought it up at the meeting. There was no way he didn't remember it. Then it dawned on him that wasn't what Shasryu was trying to say. After it ended, you became a traveler. I regret branding you so much. I should have stopped you, even if I had to thrash you. Zayusu vigorously shook his head. His brother's expression back then was still a thorn in his heart. Because you let me go, I learned how to farm fish. You could have figured it out here. A wise man like you should have been the one guiding the village. Brother, things that happened in the past couldn't be undone. There was no point in saying, but if only it had already happened. So were they thinking that way because they were weak? No, it wasn't that. Let me say this not as your chief, but as your brother, he said. I am not going to ask if you'll be okay on your own. Just come home safe. Don't try too hard. Zayusu replied with a cocky smile. Of course, I'll do a perfect job of it and come back fine. For me, it'll be a cinch. Shasryu grinned. Then if you fail, I am gonna eat whichever of your fish has the most fat on it. Brother, I don't care about that. That's not the kind of thing you should be saying now, though. MPH. They quietly laughed together. Eventually, although neither of them made the move, they found themselves facing each other with serious expressions again. So is the alliance really your only aim? What do you mean? What are you trying to say? Zayusu squinted and thought, crap. Considering how perceptive his brother was, he couldn't react like that. The way you were talking in the hut, manipulating everyone's opinion, you seemed reluctant. Zayusu was at a loss for words, and Shasryu continued. One of the reasons we had that war was simply that the Lizardmen population had grown too large. This was due to the lack of smaller-scale fights. Brother, we'd better leave it at that. Zayusu's steely tone confirmed Shasryu's theory. Aha, I see. It's the only way. If we don't want a repeat of that war, Zayusu snapped. It was an ulterior motive even he knew was no good. It was underhanded. He hadn't wanted his older brother to find out, if at all possible. Then what are you planning to do if the other tribes form an alliance? We be able to stand up to them later with just our selected survivors and runaways. Then I guess we'll have to crush them first. You're saying we should destroy one another first? Brother Zayusu was about to try to convince him, but Shasryu laughed it off. I understand, and your way of thinking is correct. I agree with you. As the leader of the tribe, I need to be thinking about its survival and continued existence. So don't worry about it, Zayusu. I am glad. Should I bring everyone to this village? No, if what they said is true, we're second in line. I envision the first village as the battleground. Normally, I'd say we should gather in one of the later villages or one with good defenses. But things will be tough afterward if entire villages get burned down. We should block them at the first village. So can you go straight there when you're ready? I am going to ask the priests for magic so we can share information. Sure thing. The magic his brother mentioned was hard to use for a large volume of text, and if the distance was too great, it wouldn't reach. But Zayusu figured it would be okay for this trip. And for food, we're gonna take your fish. Of course, just leave the fries. It seems like we've gotten into a good groove. Even if we have to abandon the village, they'll come in handy. Okay, I promise. How much food do you think there is? Counting the dried food, there are probably 1,000 meals. Okay, then there's no immediate issue. Yeah, I know you'll take care of things. Okay, brother, I'll be off now, Rororo. In response to Zayusu's voice, a snake head appeared in the window. Pale moonlight reflected off its scales with a wet gleam. The way each individual scale sparkled when they shifted created a beautiful optical illusion. Let us go. Can you come over here? Rororo gazed at Zayusu and Shasryu for a few moments, then pulled in his head. There came the sound of something heavy splashing through the water, along with some gurgling. So, brother, there's something I wanted to ask you. I wonder if you have the answer yet. Did you decide what to do about the number of people? Depending on how things go, I may use it to negotiate. Shasryu hesitated slightly before answering. 10 from the warrior caste, 20 hunters, 3 priests, 70 males, 100 females, and a few kids. I see, got it. Zayusu fell quiet before Shasryu's exhausted smile. A splash broke the heavy silence. The two of them looked in the direction it had come from, and then smiled at each other, feeling nostalgic. MPH, he sure has gotten big. I was surprised when I went into the hut before. Yeah, me too, brother. I had no idea he'd get this huge. He was so little when I found him. I am not sure I believe that. He was pretty big already when you brought him back to the village. As they reminisced about how Rororo used to look, 4 snake heads poked out of the water a little way from the hut. The 4 heads moved in the same way, pushing through the water towards Zayusu and Shasryu. Suddenly the heads lifted high, and something huge came out of the water. The 4 reptilian heads, on long twisty necks, were attached to a giant 4-legged body. Rororo was a magical beast called a hydra. When Zayusu gave him fish, the chewing sounds proved he wasn't a usual snake. He moved his 16-foot body with surprising obedience and went to Zayusu. Zayusu scrambled up him with the lightness of a monkey climbing a tree. Get home safe. It's just like you not to use your head and passionately shout that you won't let a single person die, the way you used to. I guess I am an adult now. Shasryu snorted. The little scamp is all grown up. Well, that is fine. Take care. If you don't come back, we'll know who to attack first. I'll be back. Wait for me, brother. For just a little while they gazed at each other full of emotion. Then without a word their shadows moved apart. The 9th level of the Great Tomb of Nazarick had many different rooms. Of course, there were guild member rooms and rooms for the NPCs. But there were also facilities like a large bath, a cafeteria, a beauty parlor, a clothing shop, a general store, a spa, a nail salon, and many other rooms reminiscent of stores. The reason these kinds of places existed, despite being meaningless in-game, was either because lots of guild members had been obsessed with those types of details, or perhaps because they were building the tomb in the image of an arcology. It could have even been that because employment conditions in the real world were so horrible, the designers longed for such places. And in one of those rooms, the manager of this particular area was the great tomb of Nazarick S. sous chef. Usually he displayed his talents in the cafeteria, but depending on the day and time, he might also be here. He made sure things were ready in case someone came by. The room was designed to be like a short bar. It had only a handful of regulars. It glowed quietly in the subdued lighting. With shelves full of bottles and 8 chairs at the bar, he was confident this was a fine enough room to quietly enjoy a drink. He was as content and fulfilled in this space as if it were his castle. But several minutes after welcoming one first-time customer, he realized a lot of that depended on the character of his clientele. Gulp, 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 thus his customer downed one drink after another. As the sous chef absent-mindedly polished a glass, he thought, if you want a drink like that, there are more appropriate places for it. The 9th level had lounges and bars. There was no need to guzzle here. She slammed her glass, a rather large one, down on the counter. The sous chef desperately suppressed the urge to scowl. Next, in response to the order, he filled her glass full to the brim with spiritus and some blue one on top. Then he gently offered it to her. It called Tears of a Lady. The woman looked doubtful, but when he told her the name he improvised, her face lit up. She was pleased to find a drink she'd never seen before. So the blue spreading out and there is her tears. Yes, that's right, he gracefully lied. She picked up the glass, put it to her mouth, and chugged it in one go. She moved with the smooth motion of someone drinking coffee-flavored milk right after taking a dip at the bathhouse. Then she slammed the empty glass on the bar just like before. Phew, I am a little drunk. That's what happens when you drink so fast. Perhaps you should go home and rest for today. Now, I don't want to go home. I see. He tried to polish a glass and shrank from the woman's obvious disapproval. If you want to say something, then say it. This is why women are such a pain. This bar is meant for gentlemen dandies, not obnoxious women. He could just bar them from entry or not. It would be disrespectful to the supreme beings. But what a bad idea this was. He invited her here himself. She looked so forlorn walking along the hall of the 9th level that he gotten worried and approached her, and this was the result. In retrospect, he certainly regretted it. But now that he welcomed her into the bar as a customer, he needed to give her some degree of service as the bartender. Even if he gave her random made-up drinks. Bracing himself, he asked, "What's the matter, Mistress Sholtia?" He doubted it was just his imagination that she seemed to have been waiting for him to ask. "Sorry, I don't want to talk about it." "Oh, for fuck's sake." He frowned in spite of himself, but since he was a myconid, she didn't understand his facial movements, so she didn't respond. She just toyed with her glass on the bar with a finger. "I am a little drunk." "I see, that's impossible, but okay." Sholtia seemed to think she was truly inebriated, but he could say with confidence that she was not. Drunkenness was a status, similar to being poisoned. So anyone with total resistance to poison wouldn't get drunk. Naturally, as an undead, poison didn't affect Sholtia. Therefore, she wouldn't get intoxicated from alcohol. Most of the patrons of his bar either removed their poison immunity item or simply enjoyed the atmosphere, knowing they wouldn't get a buzz. But it seemed Sholtia thought she was drunk. Perhaps she was drunk on the atmosphere. As he wondered what to do, a glorious sound rang out. He thought of it as a heavenly intervention. He turned and bowed his head slightly. "Good evening." "Hey, Pekii." The newcomer, who called the bartender by his fungus-inspired nickname, was one of his regulars, the assistant butler Claire. He was accompanied by the male servant who carried him under his arm. Claire was quietly deposited on a chair as always. He was only about 3 feet 3 inches tall. The bar chairs had high legs, so he had trouble sitting down by himself. When the sous chef looked at Sholtia, wondering why she hadn't greeted the pair, even though they sat right next to her, he saw she was staring at the counter and mumbling something. The words he could faintly hear seemed to be an apology to the supreme being Aints Ool Gown. Claire gave his order in an affected manner. "I'll have the usual." "Yes, sir." The usual could mean only one thing: the cocktail using 10 liquors of 10 different colors, the Nazarick. It looked exquisite, but flavor-wise, one glass was plenty. The regulars were fond of it and thought the name fit perfectly. It wasn't something that could be recommended to others. He experimented with ways to try to make it taste good, but he didn't have much hope. He mixed the 10-colored cocktail with a practiced hand and set it in front of Claire. "You there, miss? This is for you." The next thing he heard was the glass tipping and spilling everywhere. Claire must have wanted to slide the drink down the bar to her, but that was a move only dexterous people or characters in a manga could do. It wasn't something a penguin could pull off. The sous chef picked up the fallen glass and let out a sigh of relief after examining it and finding no nicks.